Hello and welcome back to Umineko. When last we left off, everyone had discovered the second Twilight and realized that they were not in a staged fake situation. Certainly the body cannot last with nothing more than a small breakfast, but... Of course, we understand. Still, as time passes, it'll get darker and darker out. It's probably at its brightest now. It's the most convenient time. Only about an hour has passed since Rosa-san was attacked. This is simply too reckless. It was only natural that Natsuhi was yelling about recklessness. After all, Rudolph had said he was going to the mansion to get food. Certainly, on top of their fatigue, their hunger was tormenting them. In the beginning, a mild level of hunger had been just what they needed to fight off drowsiness. However, it now just made their minds hazy, since it was still only midday, and their bodies felt like they were reaching their limits. The thought of going to the kitchen in the mansion and bringing back some food certainly was attractive. I'm opposed to this. It may be a little rough, but we definitely shouldn't leave this place. Don't worry about us. But it would pain my heart to keep the children hungry. I must be responsible as a parent. Dear, now that father is dead, you are the Ashuramiya family head. It is not permissible for you to take on such a danger. You're right. It's like Natsuhi-san says. Kraus-san, you should remain here, as our leader. And then who will go to the mansion? I think it should be Kirie and me, and Hideyoshi-san too. Hideyoshi-san and I have guns. They shouldn't be able to lay a hand on us that easily. Rosa-san also had a gun, but she was attacked. Won't it be dangerous? When I went out to check on Rosa and Maria-chan, I had a gun, but I was alone. And yet, I wasn't attacked. Maybe they'll be cautious if their opponent is a man. We'll have 2 men, and even 2 guns. Those 2 will act as guards, and I'll transport our cargo using a cart. I believe the situation will be significantly different than it was for Rosa-san. If you count on me because I'm a man, I'd be happy to help. I may not look it, but I'm built up pretty strong from pushing food stands around. Leave the heavy lifting to me. You men can devote yourselves to guarding. There's a folding cart in the servant room, and using that I should be able to handle carrying the food. Of course, we'll be careful. And if we can succeed in this adventure just once, there won't be any need for us to take risks again. Is there any way I can get you to rethink this? It may be painful for everyone to deal with empty stomachs, but even so, we do not know what is happening outside now. We'll take care. And Ava's feeling pretty darn bad right now. We can't let her stay hungry. If her stomach's empty, she can't take her medicine. I have to go out for Ava's sake as well. How is Ava? It looks like she's finally gone to sleep. She has a high fever. If we just leave her be for a while. You can't just stand still when it comes to your wife's health. Understood. I'll give you permission to go outside. Then we'll take a little trip there and back. A speed contest. Canned food's okay, right? You at least have a can opener here, don't you? Yes. We have a can opener and a bottle opener. There's running water in the guest house, so we won't need anything to drink. We need to get 10 people's worth, so no being picky about what you get. Alright. Why don't we dash ahead and bring it back quickly? There's no time to open umbrellas. See you, Anarchy. I'll trust you to look after this place. Take care. Under normal circumstances, I'd want to go too. Being a man, I despise how this title of the oldest brother prevents me from lending a hand in an emergency like this. This is about the only time we get to show off. Sit back and take it easy every once in a while, Aniki. Okay, Natsuhi-san. Wait here and get some towels ready or something. We aren't using umbrellas, so we'll be soaked to the bone when we get back. Understood. Take care. Rudolph, Kyrie, and Hideyoshi, each leaving their own brave words behind, left the lobby. Compared to the time Rosa and Maria had gone outside, the winds were much stronger. Rudolph's group of 3 people jogged through the rose garden without umbrellas, holding their guns and a folded cart. If everything had been still and quiet without the wind and rain, they would probably have kept their ears open and moved with caution. But in this rain, even if some suspicious person was hiding nearby, it would be difficult to notice them. Because of that, it had been Rudolph's plan to instead dash through the dangerous area. If there was a chance that their opponent was equipped with a gun, then walking slowly with their guard up would only make them targets. Taking swift action was probably the correct choice. The rose garden. It feels like we're just asking to be attacked. Please, let nobody come out of there. Even as Rudolph and Hideyoshi continued to run, they looked around restlessly, vigilant of their surroundings. Rosa and Maria's deaths had not been caused by a projectile weapon. However, it was easy to suspect that the servants had been killed in such a manner. Will they come flying out of the dark? Or will they take careful aim and snipe from the shadows? Either way, they couldn't relax their tension for even an instant. But even so, when they reached the overhang in front of the entrance to the mansion and escaped the reach of the raindrops, they felt themselves breathing a sigh of relief. No problems for the first step. Not like how it was for Rosa-san. Maybe they can't get their hands on us easily. I'd like to believe that. Kyrie, unlock the door while we keep a lookout. Sure. Returning home to the mansion with a pair of SPs makes me feel just like an executive. Wah! If we had a welcoming party of servants with a red carpet, it'd be perfect. A welcoming party, huh? You never know. Be careful. As the two cautiously surveyed their surroundings, Kyrie unlocked the entrance with the master key she had been given. It's open. Hideyoshi-san, could you take the front? I'll keep an eye on the rear. Understood. Kyrie-san, try not to move from my shadow. Okay, let's break in. Rear guard, roger that. Covering. Ah, men. Even in a situation like this, you're just playing around, aren't you? Give it up. That's how men are. Seriously though, that stench is awful. It felt like the air in the mansion was stagnant, with a gloomy silence. And on top of that, it was still thick, with the stench from Kinzo's burnt corpse in the boiler room. And they were struck with an uncontrollable desire to leave the mansion. No problems in the front. Just a short dash to the kitchen. Let's finish this quickly and head home. This suit will get fumigated with Dad's stench. The three of them dashed towards the kitchen. And after they disappeared from the entrance hall, the new witch appeared there. They were lured out just as planned. Just as planned, they got caught in my trap. The witch grinned. Thinking about it now, no matter how unbearable their hunger had grown, it hadn't even been a few hours since Rosa and Maria had been attacked and had lost their lives. In that case, why had they needed to recklessly leave the guest house? Until that question could be dealt with, the only answer was that they had been called out by the witch's magic. What reckless people. They'll never leave this mansion alive. Seal yourself. Lock. Seal yourself. Mansion. The instant she proclaimed that, the mansion was sealed off into a separate world. Unless her barrier was undone, no longer would anyone be able to exit this mansion or enter it. Spectacular. To think that even though barely half a day has passed since you succeeded the Endless Witch, you can use magic this well. That talent surprises me. It's almost as though you were born a witch. Well, I have been a witch since the time of my birth. Who taught you how to blink? And that's what using magic is like for me. What a fearsome person. The witch's face twisted with brutality. She just couldn't help looking forward to toying with someone's life again. Well then. First up is Rudolph and Kyrie, but in what cruel way should I kill them? If you don't mind me saying, your predecessor Sama has left some instructions that you are to restrain yourself from committing murders of unnecessary cruelty. And there is an etiquette for offering the sacrifices from the fourth twilight and onwards. For that, you must borrow the power of the 7 Sisters of Purgatory. Oh, really? Now that you mention it, that's right. I can only play as I like with that second Twilight. Boring. Just when I thought I could play to my heart's content like I did with Rosa. But that only counts for how they're killed in the end, right? Meaning, I could just kill them however I want, over and over again. Revive them, and then follow the epitaph during the last time I killed them, right? So in the end, no matter how I play, it isn't a problem. Who'd act well behaved with an entertaining power like this? Her absurd argument was, for an endless witch, an extremely valid one. The etiquette that controlled the manner of killing the sacrifices of the fourth twilight and onward was represented by lines like, gouge the head. However, that referred to the way those people died in the end. In other words, in the process leading up to that, she was free to tease and kill them however she wanted. She just had to keep on reviving them, and follow the rules only when she killed them the final time. Though Ronave felt that her innocent cruelty was part of her talent as a witch. He was beginning to notice an innately brutal side of her. They do say that apprentices are the most brutal of witches, and now I see this may be true. Do as you wish, is what I would like to say, but here it may actually be wiser to show restraint. They have guns. Weapons with a high anti-magic power, such as guns, are the natural enemies of witches and demons. The witch stared blankly at this demon butler, who was surprisingly afraid of guns. That can't be right. Shouldn't witches be able to take a shot from a bullet easily? No. It would be just as fatal for a witch as it would be for a normal human. To prevent that weak point from being noticed, most witches rigorously strengthen their guard with a defense of protective barriers and furniture. Do I have any of those protective barrier things? Constructing a barrier to make even gun bullets ineffective requires much in the way of preparation and ceremonies. I'm afraid to say that Beatrice-sama currently has none of those. Furthermore, you are currently ill-prepared to summon furniture strong enough to block a bullet. So even though I've become a great witch with this much magical power, I really do have to be afraid of lead bullets? It's annoying, but I don't have a choice. So in that case, should I call some furniture to act as my arms and legs? Yes. Leaving everything to your servants while not exposing yourself to danger is also part of a witch's refined tastes. Beatrice-sama, leave this to the furniture and hide in a safe place. I get it. I call on the 7 Sisters of Purgatory. I don't care who, any two. Leviathan and Belphegor responded to that call. Leviathan of Entity, right here. Belphegor of Sloth, right here. Show me your power. Your targets are Rudolph and Kyrie. Don't attack Hideyoshi. Come on, show me just how cruel you can be, furniture. My apologies. Well, we've received orders from the predecessor Sama to refrain from unnecessarily cruel actions. But I think the predecessor Sama's order does give us some leeway to tease them. You still want to go through with it? I get it, I'll compromise. Don't let them die easily. Thoroughly corner them and let them taste the fear of death before killing them. Will that be okay, Runaway? Yes, depending on the degree, I do not believe there will be a problem. Then go. Yes, leave it to us. Your opponents are armed with guns. For those such as you, dodging them should be easy. But if you are hit, the wound will be fatal. Proceed with an appropriate level of caution. Don't worry. We aren't that incompetent. The 2 Sisters of Purgatory vanished. Runaway bowed and vanished himself. There are even rules on how to kill them. Why do I have to be constrained by my predecessor Sama? It's so rigid and boring. As the witch looked up at the portrait of the predecessor Beatrice hung in the hall, she cursed. The 3 people had already arrived at the kitchen and were gathering food supplies. Considering the possibility of poison, they gave up on the alluring fruits and vegetables, and gathered a whole cardboard box full of only the safe canned foods. It was very heavy, but by piling it on the cart they could carry it well enough. This should be more than enough for 10 people to hold out until tomorrow's breakfast. That should carry them until the boat arrives. The 2 men were supposed to be focused solely on guard duty, but the weight of the load was tough on Kyrie even with the cart. Hideyoshi, who wanted to show off his power, switched to be the cart pusher, and Rudolph and his wife took up the task of guard duty. With all this, even George and the kids will be full. The trip back will be a picnic, so let's go. When Hideyoshi vigorously announced their departure, Kyrie frowned and seemed to be gazing into the distance. There was a wall in that direction. No, if her gaze could go through that, there was the main hall beyond it. What is it, Kyrie? It's vague, but I've got a bad feeling gnawing at me. Kyrie stopped walking and narrowed her eyes even further. Women's intuition? At times like this, Kyrie's intuition often rang true, even when she didn't have a logical reason. Rudolph believed in that intuition. Yes, someone's probably waiting to ambush us. I didn't sense them before, but just now I felt it. Just now someone set up an ambush for us. Then there's no reason to go back the way we came. There's a back door over there, right? Let's leave that way. Rudolph made to unlock the back door. When goods were carried into the kitchen, they never passed through the part of the mansion that the family came and went from. So outside the back door, there was probably a ramp used to carry things in. Surely, they would be able to leave through there with the cart. What the heck? It's stuck. Damn, what's going on? Can't you open it? Nope. Is it broken? It isn't giving an inch. Rudolph tried various things, first using force, then coaxing it. But the lock was as hard as stone and didn't even budge. Don't force it. Let's leave through the front entrance. Right now, it'll be even worse if we stand around wasting time. You think this is a trap? I don't know. Be careful. With strained expressions, the three of them returned to the hall again and headed for the entrance. Who is it? The instant they exited into the hall, Rudolph noticed a suspicious shadow right in front of them and yelled. In that instant, a storm of gold leaves started blowing, and gold butterflies covered the area with a gold color. I can't believe it. A lowly human predicted our ambush. It isn't my fault. I was hiding my presence. Don't hesitate. Fire. The two guns spouted fire. The lead bullets blasted through the magical defense of the pair as easily as though it were a wet paper wall. But the two figures that should have been there had disappeared. Certainly, guns were frightening objects for them. But there was no need to fear as long as they weren't hit. They at least had enough speed to dodge those. Wait a sec. You won't even give us a chance to say our names? This is why I hate humans. Leviathan was a full 10 meters from where she had supposedly been, popping her head out from behind the pillars in the shadow of the staircase, and protesting. In accordance with Beatrice Sama's orders, we will hunt you down. Our orders tell us to make it take some time and to tease you. You are free to resist, but know that it will be useless. That voice came from overhead. Belphegor could be seen on top of the hall chandelier. Elegantly looking down upon them, she proclaimed their execution with a cruel smile. What are these girls? Forget the cart. We have two opponents, so if we split up, they can't chase all of us. All three of them were well acquainted with the inside of the mansion. In case of a crisis, they had planned to run off in separate directions, returning to the guest house by breaking windows or leaving through a back door. Fighting was forbidden, as long as they could fully escape. In a tight spot, escaping is victory. The three of them ran into the depths of the mansion at full tilt. That pair of furniture calmly watched them go. I'll kill the woman. You take the man. Understood. The furniture in the shadows of the pillars and on the chandelier made their figures explode. And, leaving behind only the sound of a hopping beetle knocking against the wall, they pursued their respective targets. Their speed was overwhelming, and they easily blocked the others' paths of retreat. Let's see what this furniture's got. I hope they're at least able to amuse me. Beatrice-sama, it may not be prudent for you to reveal your form unnecessarily. And you don't unnecessarily move your king away from the center. That's part of a monarch's and a witch's dignity. Belphegor was already blocking the way in front of Rudolph, who had boldly tried to escape to the second floor. It's useless to try and resist their escape. You don't need to think about anything. You just close your eyes. I'll gently end it all for you. You'd make a good wife. Husbands love to hear that kind of thing when they come home all tired. To think you're still relaxed enough to speak with such insolence at a time like this. Beatrice-sama, thank you for this excellent prey. Die. Rudolph shot first. But even before that bullet could hit her, Belphegor had already moved behind Rudolph's back. She then raised a purple curve springing out from her arm. However, incredibly, before that arm could decapitate Rudolph, he had swung his gun behind him. The barrel remained pointing behind his back, from the same motion with which he had reloaded the sawed-off gun one-handedly. It was pointing right at Belphegor's chest. Click, k-chunk, k-cha-clunk. It was the sound of the ejected empty cartridge finally hitting the wall after the reload. In other words, it meant that the next shot was already fully loaded. Without turning around, his gun pointing right at Belphegor's chest, Rudolph grinned. Not bad. For a middle-aged man. Don't look down on the generation that loves old westerns, okay? You brats don't know anything about the refinement of a lever action. Just like Rudolph, Kyrie was also confronting a demon stake in the first floor corridor. What a moron. You could have just escaped with your husband. You do know that was your final farewell just now, right? Don't worry. This kind of thing is my husband's specialty. I'm sure he'll come for me on a white horse soon. Because he's never failed to come and save me when I'm in trouble. Not even when Asumu-san was around. What a happy couple. I'm jealous. I am Leviathan of Envy. Envy itself is my power, my anger, my lifeblood. I agree. Envy is the source of a woman's power. And if that is power, I won't lose to a girl like you. Imagine saying that to the one who governs Envy. You actually think I'd let you two be reunited? I'll give you a tragic farewell. The arm Leviathan swung was trailed by a purple curve. It was a magic blade that cut with the power of malice. Kyrie blocked it with her gun. Even though the magical blade should have cut through the metal like butter, the gun, with its extremely high magic resistance power, was able to block the blade as easily as if it were a rolled up newspaper. Rapidly, 2 times, 3 times. It blocked all of them. And, without missing the opening created when that purple curve took a swing upward, Kyrie kicked Leviathan in the stomach with her heel. Leviathan was knocked away like a lightly dancing feather. before the demon stake feet touched ground again. Kyrie was already pointing her gun directly at Leviathan in midair. From that position, the two women who had called envy a form of power met each other's gaze. Can you do it? Can you pull that trigger? I can be brutal when my husband isn't around. Ow, 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 ow. Rudolph tumbled down the staircase. He'd been gradually cornered by Belphegor and had been pushed back into the main hall they'd started from. The predecessor Sama's furniture is pretty good. They aren't very flashy though. Beatrice Sama, it isn't over yet and it's dangerous to show yourself. Don't tell me you're... Ava? That used to be my name, but it's different now, Rudolph. You don't have to tell me. You're gonna say you're the Golden Witch Beatrice, right? Yeah. How did you know? Since the time Rosa was killed, I had a vague idea. Rosa, forgive me. Forgive me for sending the sister you hated down to the hell you're in. Beatrice-sama, look out. Rudolph mercilessly pointed the barrel of his gun at the witch who claimed to have once been his sister. But Belphegor would not permit that and attacked savagely. She dashed, disappeared, and headed for Rudolph's back. She dodged that shot and again headed for Rudolph's back. And vanished over and over, instantly moving into Rudolph's blind spots. It was almost like she was a fairy. As she blinked in and out of vision, Belphegor incessantly drove towards Rudolph. Maybe this is kind of fun. Rudolph, let me sit back and watch. Rudolph, let me sit back and watch how long your brave efforts last you. At that time, there was a dull tearing sound along with Rudolph's cry of anguish. Rudolph's reaction to the dance of the purple curve that pressed upon him had finally been too slow, and he let it lightly cut his flank. That single wound slowed him down just once. That led to a new wound which slowed his actions again. Belphegor's dance began to swallow Rudolph whole. Watching Rudolph's body gradually get carved up, his former sister let out a shrill laugh. Leviathan could no longer hide her irritation that Kyrie hadn't suffered a single fatal wound. I really am a moron. Among the 7 sisters, I was always the slowest to grow. I was always slow, always weak, always stupid. That inferiority complex became envy, and when I convert that into power, I gain a strength greater than any of the sisters. It's important for young girls to have a moderate inferiority complex. It teaches women about cosmetics and hard work. I don't like having to use the limits of my power against mere humans, but I can turn my envy of your ability to trust completely in your husband into power. I don't like it. Why are you so relaxed when you're fighting for your life? I wonder. I get it. You're fully convinced that your husband will come to your rescue and save you. Isn't it incredible, that trust of yours? It's enough to make me jealous. What kind of trust did we sisters have for each other? The sisters are always looking down on each other, trying to thoroughly lambast each other when things already look bad. I've always been bullied by my sisters. I've always wanted just one person to take my side. So when I see you with a single ally who's completely trustworthy, I feel the strongest envy. That confident expression of utter belief in your husband? I can feel it giving me power. I might even surpass that. The speed of sound. Leviathan turned herself into a stake, and the speed of her flight as she attacked was proportional to the strength of her envy. Since the day my sisters looked down on me, I was jealous from the bottom of my heart of the other 6 who grew quickly. I was jealous for 7 days and 7 nights. You can see the power I gained as a result in my speed. Die, assure me, Kyrie. The demon stake exposed her true form, leaping about at a terrible speed. The noise from her bouncing off the walls sounded like a machine gun. By now, Kyrie probably couldn't tell if it was a single stake or a swarm of beetles flying and bouncing around. Leviathan was over 100% certain of her victory, believing in it from the bottom of her heart. Then, Kyrie spoke with an unbelievably calm voice. I was the one who went out with Rudolph-san first. Asumu-san blatantly cut in between us, and shrewdly got pregnant. I don't blame Rudolph-san. That woman used her body as a weapon to seduce him, and then acted even more repulsively, cornering Rudolph-san and forcing him to get engaged to her. Asumu-san had been carrying Badler-kun, and at the same time I was also carrying a boy. As fate would have it, our delivery dates were on the same day. Then Asumu-san gave birth to Badler-kun, but I had a miscarriage. I think about it sometimes. What if Asumu-san had had the miscarriage, and I had been the one to give birth? Would Rudolph-san have broken off his engagement and married me? But I couldn't give birth to my child. So until Asumu-san died, and until I got pregnant with Anjay, I cursed Asumu-san and was jealous. Let Asumu-san die. Then I want him to marry me. In my envy, I kept cursing like that, over and over, until Asumu-san finally died. I was certain. I was certain that I'd used the power of my magic to curse and kill Asumu-san. But that didn't quell the flames of my envy. Don't tell anyone, okay? Every time I look at Badler-kun, I remember that woman. Every single time I look at him, I think that if only my child had been born, he would be the same age. I'm still jealous of her, tormented by her. Even now, and from now on, into the future, for all eternity. You say you are jealous of your sisters for 7 days and 7 nights? That's right? Don't make me laugh, little girl. How could you understand the madness of a woman whose man was stolen from her, and who's burned with envy for 18 years? What? If Leviathan had the power of 24 hours by 7 days, or 168 hours of speed, then the power that Kyrie had piled up was 24 hours in 1 day, 365 days in 1 year, and 18 whole years. even without counting leap years, that was 157,680 hours. Compared to Leviathan's power and speed, it was more than 938 times greater. So then, even if Leviathan could soar at the speed of sound, 1,225 kilometers per hour, to Kyrie's eyes it only looked like 1/938th of that. Which means 1,225 divided by 938 is a speed of 1.3 kilometers per hour. And they say a human's walking speed is 4 kilometers per hour, so it was even less than half of that. This is almost the same speed as a baby crawling on the floor. Which means... in the time it took the demon stake to move at a pace so slow that you could count all the bits of dust floating in the air, Kyrie looked at it with pity. She pitied the slowness at which it came towards her. Then she lazily raised the barrel of her gun, almost as though she was trying to swallow the demon stake up with the gun barrel. You're completely lacking in both romance and envy. Try harder next time, little girl. Rudolph, what happened to all that vigor from a couple seconds ago? You're supposed to slice up a fish while it's still flopping around. After it dies, it isn't interesting anymore. That's enough. Why not kill you now? Damn it. I'm surprised you managed to endure this long after being carved up. That's enough. From now on, you don't need to think about anything. I'll steal away your life painlessly. Wait, there's a favor I want to ask. At the very end, I want to do one of those... What do you mean, one of those? You know, the thing you see in all the westerns? We start with our backs together, walk 3 steps, and then bang. A duel. Very well. If that will satisfy your regrets in this world, I'll accept. Rudolph moved his wound-covered body and turned his back to her. Belphegor responded and turned her back to his. Belphegor had an honest nature that was uncommon in a witch's furniture. Let me warn you, even if you press the barrel of your gun between my eyebrows, I can move instantaneously, even faster than you could pull the trigger and have the bullet reach my skull. Yeah, I can feel that already. You're faster than a bullet. I have agreed to this out of respect for your courage in challenging me to a duel despite that knowledge. Thank me. Well, you're an honest and principled person. And a good woman. You might just steal my heart away. Let's begin. 3 steps will do fine. Yes? First 1 step. 2 steps. 3 steps. Is that okay? Yep. And since you still haven't noticed after walking 3 whole steps, it's my victory, miss. What? Ah! Rudolph turned around and fired a bullet. However, Belphegor could easily see through the speed and trajectory of a bullet like that. It should have been no problem at all to dodge it. but a spray of fresh blood flew about. Belphegor had set up an adequate magical defensive barrier, but before an incarnation of anti-magic power such as that bullet, it was completely meaningless. What are you doing? Why'd you get hit? The bullet had hit Belphegor right in the chest. The pain from the lead caused her to grimace, as did the pain from the denial of magic. Forgive me. I'm a coward of a man. What a killjoy. To think that furniture of a witch could be defeated by a human. Know your shame. Worthless, pathetic. If only you just grovel and die. Quit it, Anarchy. She could have dodged it, but she didn't. She realized that you were in the line of fire, Anarchy. So this faithful girl took it without dodging, protecting you. At the very end, she saw that I was pinning the rook and the king. Spectacular. Don't hate me for it. I planned to resign if you noticed it while you were taking those 3 steps. You added those 3 steps out of consideration for me, didn't you? I didn't even try to think about it. I was lazy. You were a good woman. Go to heaven before me and get yourself all made up. I'll definitely come and chat you up. As Belphegor slowly fell over, she lost even the power that kept her in human form, and she grew small like gold dust, melting into thin air. At that point, Kyrie dashed in. It seemed that she had somehow defeated her pursuer by her own hands. As she pointed the barrel of her gun straight at the witch, she ran up to the wound-covered Rudolph. Are you okay? Were you chatting someone up just now? Yep, a good woman. No match for you, of course. Sorry, Anarchy. It's checkmate. The 2 of them pinned the witch down the barrels of their guns. Worthless furniture. To think they'd be beaten by human opponents. Worthless. Stupid. Boring. Beatrice-sama, we should retreat for now. There is no furniture or barrier to guard against bullets here. The witch began to let out a muffled laugh. It surprised not only Rudolph and Kyrie, but Ronove as well. Because a situation like this, with 2 guns pointed at her, was not one that even a witch could just laugh off. But the witch laughed with pleasure. Well, it's only natural that the predecessor Sama's worn-out furniture couldn't do it. I need to get new furniture that's suitable for me. I used them out of obligation, but I've always hated second-hand stuff. As she said that, she looked down at Belphegor's remains, which had already finished turning into a pile of gold dust, with disgust. I don't know what you're talking about. Be a good girl and put your hands up. Then, the witch obediently raised her hands, but instead of raising her hands because a gun was being pointed at her, it looked more like she was a conductor facing an orchestra, waving her conductor's baton. Come, arise, furniture suitable for me. Not that cheap furniture. Much stronger ones. Cruel ones. Stop this bizarre act. I'll pull the trigger. In response to the witch's call, the hall was once again buried with the color of gold. As the brilliantly radiant gold butterflies danced, it felt as though they were being sucked into an ocean of gold leaf. Runaway was shocked at that upsurge in magical power. After all, it far surpassed that of his former master. As their eyes were dazzled amidst this golden flash, a gunshot could be heard. Either Rudolph or Kyrie had fired a round. Then, when the golden flash subsided, at the very least the witch was standing there, looking cool and composed. The bullet? Kyrie must have fired it into her. But the witch had not been hit anywhere on her body. There it is. The bullet had been fastened in mid-air right in front of the witch's chest. A bulletproof barrier. In an instant, a barrier that would require a significant amount of preparation, even for the predecessor, had been... Runaway's face was twisted in shock. And the surprises did not end there. The cloud of gold butterflies had created 2 humanoid forms. It was a furniture summoning. The butterflies peeled off and flew away, and beneath them, furniture in the shape of girls showed themselves. The Chester sister core. Even the predecessor wasn't able to summon Pendragon's memorial troops on a moment's notice, and to do it so easily? Chester 410, right here. Chester 45, right here. You two are a suitable furniture for me, I take it. From reading a picture book out aloud to going on a date to shooting down meteorites. We'll take care of anything. If we don't take care of it, Pendragon-sama will get mad at us. Please, your orders, Great Lady Beatrice. Rudolph-san? Let's run for it. We're no match for these ones. Sure. Kyrie definitely heard warning sirens going off in her head, thanks to that same feeling that had alerted her to the ambush by the 7 Sisters of Purgatory. Without hesitation, they escaped. As the witch elegantly watched them leave, she commanded her new furniture. This is an order. Kill the 2 who ran away. Then bring the corpses back here. I'll bring them back to life and play with them over and over. The witch's expression twisted into an evil smile. Even though she feared that expression, Lucifer appeared and spoke. Forgive my presumption, but the predecessor-sama asked that you avoid brutal actions of that sort. When the witch stared at her with those terrifying eyes, Lucifer was struck dumb. She was frustrated. It was so boring, not being able to let her own power and cruelty run wild. This annoying furniture of the predecessor kept telling her to show restraint, bringing her irritation to a peak. Oh, it's Lucifer of Pride. Long time no see, yeah? How you doing? Let's play together again sometime. You mustn't whisper, 410, you'll get in trouble. Let us carry out the Great Lady Beatrice's order at once. Well, yeah, we are on the job right now. Yeah. 410, roger that. Preparing for sniping pursuit combat. Accumulating terrain data, accumulating data for firing, data linked with 410. 410 data received, target lock acquired. Commencing terrain calculation error correction. Formulating firing curve, supplemental control point calculations complete. Data link to 45. 45 data received, checking hazard zone. That's no good. Lucifer-chan better get out from behind us, or you'll get roasted by the backblast. Thanks to their paired measurements, the Chieste sisters were able to instantly calculate the terrain throughout the mansion and the coordinates of their targets, as well as a firing curve to reach them. That's right, their shots could be guided to follow a curved line. None could escape. The precision guidance used by the Seven Sisters of Purgatory was nothing more than a cheap knockoff of the ability these two held. 45 firing preparations concluded, ammo type selected and loaded. As the two of them faced each other, it was as though they were both pulling back a bowstring together. A dazzling gold arrow was readied there. 410 and firing. After giving that announcement, they released a single arrow together. As the path taken by the gold sparkling snake of light drew a curve, it followed the direction that Rudolph and Kyrie had escaped to in rapid pursuit. It turned through the corridors, crawled over the floor, and chasing them as though it drew a beautiful curve. No one could block the guided shots of the Chieste sisters. No one could escape from them. And their strength could pierce all physical and magical defenses. It was quite a merciless guided weapon of certain death. However, among mythical class soldiers, it was a weapon used by pretty much everyone. It was very commonplace for them, and very extraordinary for those of the everyday world. What the? When he noticed something rapidly chasing them and turned around, the exact position of Rudolph's heart was pierced by the gold snake. It all happened in an instant. Rudolph-san. After the gold snake pierced Rudolph, it swooped down to the floor, drawing a beautiful spiral, coiled itself around Kyrie's legs and crawled up to her chest. And just like Rudolph, it pierced the exact location of her heart. And all of that happened in an instant. It pierced Rudolph and then Kyrie. So they died, dropped to their knees, and fell over at almost the exact same time. What's this? Talk about overwhelming. Ridiculously easy, isn't it? Yeah. This is the kind of furniture I need. Way different from predecessor Sama's second-hand furniture. Come on, bring their corpses here. I'll keep reviving them until I'm bored, and I'll try killing them in as brutal a way as I can think of. To think being a witch could be so much fun. That taking a life could be so much fun. From the time humans are born, the most shunned action they can take is the murder of another human. It's only natural that humans can't understand how pleasurable it can be to break this taboo. But she was no longer a human. She was a witch. And there were some pleasures that only witches could understand. By now she had tasted those pleasures and was totally immersed in them. After learning that the contents of the forbidden pot were honey, she could no longer live without them. No, maybe the contents were honey because they were forbidden. Anyway, by killing humans gruesomely, and doing it over and over, she could feel the drug-like pleasure even now. As the witch rolled over laughing, the gold snake that had just been shot returned as though being reeled in. At the tips, 2 people were pinned and dragged along. One thing I'm going to quickly check. Did we get... Yeah, the Chieste sisters are on... Oh. Yes, they're here. Chieste 45. A weapon in contract with Beatrice. 45 has a methodical and timid personality, as well as a fairly strong persecution complex. Thanks to that, she is well suited to shoring up the weaknesses of 410's rough personality when they work as a pair. She can't stand silence, so she'll often become emotionally insecure if she isn't being ordered around by someone constantly. 45 excels in search and decision-making capabilities. The support she provides doubles the combative force of the sisters. 410 is a kid with a strong personality, whose peculiar style of speech tends to make light of people. She likes laughing at people who are serious or can never relax, which is why she's so fond of 45 and Lucifer. Her choice of words may be coarse, but she loves company and gets lonely easily. She gets depressed if there isn't someone talking with her constantly. 410 is particularly skilled when it comes to firing control, and she can wield unparalleled combative force even in close-range fighting. So while we're here, did we actually read Rosa and Maria? Yes, we did. The witch's order had been fulfilled. Rudolph and Kyrie had been killed instantly, and their corpses had been carried back. Gestures 45 and 410, order execution complete. We await your next order, Great Lady Beatrice. Please, your orders. From babysitting to playing online games with you, to shooting down a space shuttle, we'll take care of everything. Well, looks like these two are the sacrifices for the 4th and 5th Twilights. So in the end, I'll need those worthless 7 sisters. Or are they the 5 sisters now? I need those guys to pierce and gouge the forehead and chest. But I can do that at the very end. And I'm free to play in any way I want until then, right? Wait. Have you already forgotten what I've told you? Oh, it's you, Predecessor-sama. Do you have any complaints? Of course I do. You're doing whatever you please, aren't you? Why haven't you followed my directions? What's wrong with doing as I please, Predecessor-sama? Anyway, I don't plan on deviating from the rules of the ceremony in the slightest. I'll definitely clean those 2 corpses up later and drive stakes into their forehead and chest. I'm telling you, that is not the problem. If you act so undignified and cruel, some people might take it badly. You mean your opponent in that game? The one you're supposedly fighting against somewhere? Ronave told me. Damn that blabbermouth. Well, to be perfectly honest, that's how it is. If you go a little too far, that person will object, you see? Why can't this person just complain to me directly instead of making you take a message? That coward. Well, this is a resident of a different world from yours. There's no choice but to use me as an intermediary. Well, that's beside the point, but... Which means that this person couldn't interact with me even if they wanted to. And I can't interact with them even if I want to either. Simply put, this is a completely unrelated person from a world that distant, right? Indeed. For example, perhaps you could say these worlds are like very close parallel lines. The distance between them is quite small, but because the lines are parallel, they will never cross. For now, that should be a convenient way for you to view that world. They never cross. Which means that world has nothing to do with me. If you're speaking for that person when you tell me to show restraint, please pass this message on to them. To them? What should I say? It's none of your business, so disappear, you old hag. If only you'd just give up and die. What? Oh, I'm sorry. Since it was a friend of yours, I just assumed she'd be a woman. By old hag, I'm definitely not talking about you, Predecessor-sama, so please don't get mad at me. When she spoke, the witch was looking straight into Beato's eyes. anyone present would be able to tell what she meant by it. Predecessor-sama, there's something I find really strange. Why do you have to play a game with someone from another world? And have him accept that you're a witch? Well, as to that, it's because making all humans accept the existence of witches is a prerequisite to perfect control. There was a single holdout who simply wouldn't accept me as a witch. Why would you need the approval of a human? Witches are witches and can use magic, so why would we need to be acknowledged by humans? Well, like I said earlier, magic is... I'm a witch. I can use magic without anyone's approval in particular, so what's your point? In this world, right? However, since that person won't accept it, how should I explain it? I don't need you to. After all, isn't this about a different world that never crosses this one? In other words, that world might as well not exist. You fighting a game in another world is absolutely no different from me telling you about stuff from you telling me about stuff from your imagination. I'll say it again. It has nothing to do with me. And I am already a witch. Predecessor-sama, somehow or another it seems you can't become a witch as long as this person doesn't acknowledge you, but I'm different. Even though no one has acknowledged me, I'm an excellent witch already. Since you are my predecessor, I will formally pay you respect. But that's out of kindness, not out of duty. I won't ask for your advice anymore, because I clearly know what I should do and how I should play from now on. So I will carry out the murder of 13 people as a final act of respect for you. However, there is absolutely no reason for you to interfere with the methods I use, or what I do afterwards. Therefore, I'll be counting on you in that regard. At a glance, those words seemed obedient, but they contained within them a clear parting of ways. She was no longer under Beato's care in any way. That's why she was clearly saying nothing more than, "Don't get in the way of my fun." Beato understood that, and was dejected, realizing that no matter how she explained it, she wouldn't be able to make the witch understand. I see. Then it is no longer my problem. Go and learn with your own body how magic ceases to exist when you lose respect for it. I wish you'd tell me where the respect was in that carefree rampage of yours up until now. After hearing that, Beato could not respond, because she remembered hearing exactly the same thing from her teacher. Okay now, Chiaste sisters, see off my predecessor on our way back. Predecessor-sama, please leave this place. If you don't, we'll be scolded. Throughout her body, Beato felt something unseeable from the Chiaste sisters, which could only be described as an oppressive sensation. Most likely, they were initiating firing calculations. It was an action much like taking out a gun and cocking it. Even Beato could not escape from the Chiaste sisters' attacks without any preparation. In the past, she had placed her greatest trust in them, so she knew how terrifying they were down to her very soul. Predecessor-sama, if you would retire. I would not recommend damaging Beatrice-sama's mood any further. Predecessor-sama. I understand. I shall leave for now. I'll watch over the end you eventually reach at my leisure. It was almost infinitely close to a parting shot. So after Beato vanished, the witch and her furniture doubled over laughing. Well, I do understand. The endless power is fun. The joy of freely toying with an extremely limited life cannot be explained to those who have not tasted it. I can understand that feeling of being possessed with a pleasure similar to drugs. It must have been quite fun, judging by your antics in the past. Are you saying it's just like when you tried to admonish me in the past over and over and I did not listen? Why have you started trying to scold that child for her actions? Well... There's a single large difference between you and that child. That child may already be a witch. Of course, you are also a witch. At least in the world on top of the game board. However, to be acknowledged as a witch in the world outside of the game board, you need to have Battler-kun, your opponent in this game, acknowledge you. You must have understood that when you started the game. I thought that if I could show off a whirlwind of proof that I am a witch, blow away his desire to deny me and make him surrender, he would acknowledge me as a witch. It all went my way last time, so I thought I was just a breath away. It's actually the opposite. Battler-kun was disgusted by your brutality. He did not step up to the plate as a player because he acknowledged you as a worthy opponent. It was based on a strong animosity, his resolve to completely deny the existence of a brutal witch. In your foolishness, you probably felt that Battler-kun's acceptance of his role as your opponent was a first step towards making him acknowledge you as a witch. However, it was actually the opposite. Battler-kun challenged you in this game because he was absolutely determined not to acknowledge you. No matter how hard the thoughtless north wind blows, the traveler only wears his cloak even tighter. You are committing a huge error from the very beginning. This game is not torture to make Battler-kun surrender. It is a test in which you must try to make Battler-kun accept you. I've vaguely noticed that. The last game was a tough one for Battler, but as it seems you've already noticed, this game is a tough one for you. What should I do from now on? Think about it for yourself. Fortunately, you have already given up your pieces on the game board to the new witch. You should have plenty of time to reflect upon your own self. But Battler's already a mass of hostility to me. He won't accept witches, so he won't accept me. In that case, what can I do to make him accept me? Are you saying that if the north wind doesn't work, then I should shine on him as the sun from now on? Me after all this time? It's October now, the Halloween season. It's the month of rebirth, when the sun dies and is revived again. When the sun is weak right after reviving, it may not reach far through the cold winter winds. However, it slowly grows and is eventually able to hail the coming of spring. At that time, the traveler may even fold up his cloak. Are you saying that I've been mistaken? The beautiful hall of the Ashurimiya mansion was covered with a golden sparkle like gold leaf, and stained deep red with thick spurts of blood. The number of deaths given to Rudolph and Kyrie had long surpassed anything you could count on both your fingers and your toes. The witch was breathing so hard her shoulders shook, but it wasn't because she was tired. She just couldn't hide her ragged breaths caused by her still uncontainable excitement. How fun is it to do as I will with people's lives and deaths? With the power of the Endless Witch, the endless everything I paint with my mind becomes reality. No matter how sloppily I mash them, I can revive them returning them to normal with just a snap of my fingers. Because in the end, I just have to restore the corpses and follow the epitaph as an afterthought. Hey you guys, have you ever sliced a stuffed animal's stomach open? Never. What about you, 45? No, I've never done it. My apologies. That's understandable. Normally you wouldn't, especially not if it was a stuffed animal you liked. But I've always thought about it. I always thought about peeking in and seeing what was packed inside this fluffy stuffed animal I loved. If you cut it and looked inside, your curiosity might be quelled, but the stuffed animal would be broken. So even though you want to see it, you can't. You understand that feeling, right? The power of the Endless Witch can truly grant that wish. As I am now, I can slice the stuffed animal all I want. And yet, with a bit of magic, I can return it to normal and revive it. In other words, it means I've broken all limitations in this world. As I am now, I don't have to hesitate or give up an idea or anything. That joy, there's probably no one who can understand it. No one other than me, the Golden Witch. As the witch let out a mad war cry, she revived Rudolph and Kyrie again. And faster than they could realize it, she killed them right away. And she made it known that something other than cotton was stuffed inside those two. Quit it, Ava. Huh? It's you. How long have you been there? In that gruesome hall, Hideyoshi appeared with his gun readied. The witch had sealed the mansion with a barrier, so Hideyoshi had nowhere to run. He'd probably picked up Rudolph or Kyrie's gun and come back. That gun, which should have been something to be feared, was apparently no longer an object she took seriously, now that she was overflowing with magical power. Her bold expression didn't flinch in the slightest. Why did you have to kill Rosa-san and Maria-chan? And Rudolph-kun and Kiria-san? Huh? I am the head of the Ashurmiya family, the Witch of Rokujima. Everything that occurs on this island is all up to me. Whether they happen to be alive or dead at any particular moment in time is meaningless to me. You went mad after finding Father's gold. Just how high must that gold have been piled? I can't even imagine it. It must have been enough to steal away your sanity. But if there was that much gold, why didn't you think of graciously splitting it up? You misunderstand. All of that belongs to the Golden Witch. No one is qualified to touch it except me. What are you? Don't tell me that thing Ava told me about long ago. The witch Ava from when she was young? That's right. I am the me from my years as a girl, who's been living in the heart of your wife, Ashurmiya Ava, this whole time. And I'm a witch. Ava became an adult by forgetting me, so she can't use magic. All kids get their heads filled with innocent but cruel ideas sometimes. When I was young, I'd sometimes go around stepping on ants and pulling the wings off dragonflies. However, I learned the importance of life and graduated from that cruel childhood age. And right now, you really are a child. A personality that I know Ava graduated from. That personality isn't Ava. It's a completely different human. And that's right. I am not Ashurmiya Ava. I am the Golden Witch, Beatrice. It's so fun not being bounded by any limitations, and the pleasure of being able to do as I will with life and death is truly wonderful. I don't have to apologize for breaking a goldfish bowl, and I can tear stuffed animals up as much as I want. There was a crisp sound. It was the sound of Hideyoshi slapping the witch's face. Looking at the hall stained deep red with fresh blood, he should have been able to imagine how terrible the witch was. But without fear, without even hesitating, Hideyoshi had walked determinedly up to her and had hit her on the cheek. You fool! Don't act like you're cruel when you're not really a cow. Don't act like you're cruel, not when you're really a coward and a weakling. I'll correct that evil nature of yours again if I have to. You fool! Fool! Ow! Ouch! Hey! You're a woman who understands how important, how fragile life is, aren't you? I'll make you remember. What are you calling a witch, you stupid fool? You're my wife, Shurimiya Eva. If anything, you're the witch of the kitchen. You can always make the perfect snacks out of refrigerator leftovers in a flash. Won't you open your eyes, you fool? Didn't I just tell you that I'm not a Shurimiya Eva? You stupid fool. You. As tears dripped down his face, Hideyoshi kept hitting the witch's head. He wasn't even pointing the gun at her anymore. Therefore, that sound of gunfire couldn't have come from the gun Hideyoshi was holding. The gun, which had fallen in the corner near Rudolph's corpse, was floating in the air, and smoke lingered near the barrel. And the bullet? A red stain was slowly spreading across the chest section of Hideyoshi's vest. Even though his back was facing the barrel of the gun, the bullet had driven through Hideyoshi's chest. Eva. Oh. Like I said, I'm not Eva. What a stupid, annoying man. Nearest pain, so I'll switch the sacrifice of the sixth twilight to you. If only you'd just hidden under some bed, shaking or something. I planned on letting you go. But no, you went to all the trouble of coming back. You really are a stupid man. Thunk. There was a dull sound as Hideyoshi fell to the floor. Even though death would have allowed him to escape from that pain, he resisted until the last second. And staring straight into the witch's eyes, he passed away. Because he had died without closing his eyes, the witch didn't realize that he was dead for a short while, and remained pinned by that gaze. Should we make this one a new toy and play? At those words, the witch finally realized that Hideyoshi was dead. Yeah, right, what'll we do? The Chiaste sisters waited for instructions. On the inside, they imagined the sorts of even more brutal orders their master might give. But the expression that rose to the witch's face looked as though she'd gotten over her excitement. She looked down at Hideyoshi's face, which still had tears dripping down it. It's such a killjoy, and it's all this guy's fault. I'm done. Ronave, are you there? Yes, right here. Take care of the cleanup. I'll bet the predecessor Sama makes a fuss over this one. Please make it clean enough for that old hag to accept. I guess I'll follow the rules of the ceremony, out of a sense of obligation to my predecessor Sama. Treat these 3 corpses as the 4th through 6th twilights. Lucifer, it's your turn. Lucifer of Pride, right here. Dig into these 3 corpses and gouge them. Into corpses? That's right. Got a problem with that? No. The 7 sisters of Purgatory had their own sort of pride. It was the pride of a hunter, the pride of gouging prey that they had brought down themselves. However, being told to gouge a corpse that someone else had brought down ran contrary to that sentiment. Of course, the witch didn't mean it that way, but for the 7 sisters, it was horribly humiliating. However, they had already screwed this up, with 2 of the sisters defeated, so they had no right to question her. Only Runaway appreciated this, and he rested his hand on her shoulder in understanding. This is an order from Beatrice-sama. Lucifer, carry these 3 and dispose of them in accordance with the etiquette of the ceremony. Then, when you are done, lend me a hand with the cleanup. Certainly. The witch looked down upon Hideyoshi's corpse as though implying that the new delicate atmosphere was all Hideyoshi's fault. Stupid man. And you didn't even have to die. Dear! Dear, where are you? You're there, right? Answer me. The crash of a thunderbolt woke Ava from her nightmare. If Hideyoshi had been gripping her hand at that time, her fearful heart would probably have been instantly healed. However, Hideyoshi, who had supposedly sworn that he wouldn't leave even for a moment, was nowhere to be seen in the room. Dear, answer me. Dear. Wow. And that was a pretty long one, but we have knocked out 3 Twilights in one go as we hurtle towards the end of this ceremony. But that is all for this week. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.